His teammates were captured by an ancient guild. If he didn't show up, they would kill everyone. Although the story was quite fantastical. But as a team leader, Hirkan still had to step forward to resolve this matter. With just one slash, he could easily kill the big guy in front of him. No matter how many of them charged forward, he could still easily kill them all. Do you think you can beat me just by ganging up on me? You guys still don't have the skill. At this moment, his teammates behind him also spoke up. They blamed themselves for involving him in this mess. As a team leader, how can you blame us for such trivial matters? He not only didn't scold them, but also gently comforted them. I'm fine. Everyone stand up. And actually, it's not our fault. Those losers are the ones who can't even fight a fair duel. Right, Hirkan said, looking at the detestable woman behind him. She was initially furious, but then immediately changed her expression. She smiled and said, "How touching. But what does friendship mean? It's just trash gathered together. It can only create a pile of trash." Hirkan sneered, not being polite, and retorted, "You're just trash who got beaten up." She didn't hesitate to respond. "You should be careful with your mouth, or we'll make you cry and regret it." Hirkan glanced at his watch and activated the slot, but his whole body began to change. His weapons and equipment were upgraded. Now he looked even more majestic and powerful. He pointed his sword at Sai and said, "Regret is only for the weak, like you." Sai became furious and shouted, "Kill him, you scoundrel!" Hirkan shrugged and said, "Can't you learn anything? You guys can never kill me." But before he could finish speaking, a sharp pain appeared in his chest. The pain became clearer, making him unable to move. "What's going on?" He coughed out a mouthful of blood, and only then did he realize that his body had been pierced by a sword. The system's voice rang out. HP dropped rapidly. Movement restricted. He collapsed to the ground after the vicious attack, stuttering. "I don't believe what just happened." His teammates spoke up. "We're sorry, Hirkan, but we have to make a living. You know, don't take it to heart." Hirkan's body returned to its original state, and he looked at them bitterly. "What's wrong?" The woman laughed loudly, her face filled with satisfaction. She wiped away her tears and walked towards Hirkan's body, saying with a joyful tone, "Poor you, you actually believed in that friendship nonsense. I'll kick you out of this game, Hirkan. If every time you log in I kill you, you won't even be able to play right. I heard you're a full-time War God player, and without this game you're just trash." She looked straight into Hirkan's eyes, her gaze filled with satisfaction and teasing. "You're back to being trash, aren't you?" Hirkan clenched his fists, scratching the ground, and struggled to open his mouth. "Shut up." And then he rushed towards her. A stream of hot blood spurted out, and his angry eyes seemed to freeze in time. The woman exclaimed. Hirkan's hand was blocked by his own teammates with a few stabs, and she said calmly, "Thank you all." Hirkan looked at them, his voice weak. "What are you doing?" "Hirkan, just die! They paid us millions to kill you. What are you waiting for?" Hirkan pursed his lips, feeling extremely angry and a bit aggrieved. "Is this all? After everything I've done for you guys?" He cursed, "You bunch of bastards," and then a series of red notifications appeared. The system announced you have died. Penalty 48-hour login ban. Hirkan sat up gasping for breath after exiting the game. He clutched his head and shouted, "I've lost everything." The game he was playing was Warlord, a game that had stirred up the whole world, a highly profitable game. The only thing that made me not trash, he remembered the first time he met them. "What level are you?" "You're so good." When he raised his hand with a sincere smile, wanting to form a guild with me, the only place he belonged until now. His body trembled and he couldn't accept the truth, couldn't forgive. Thinking this, he put on his windbreaker and ran quickly through the crowded street. "I'll find and kill them myself. They think they can continue without me." While walking and listening to his phone, he didn't notice the traffic light had turned red. A large truck was heading towards him, but Hirkan was still lost in his thoughts. Damn it, if I knew it would end like this. The headlights shone directly onto his face, but the image that appeared in his mind was still the thought. Then I wouldn't have wasted my time caring about anyone. And so the other car couldn't brake in time. A loud noise echoed due to the collision. Hirkan fell to the ground, blood flowing profusely. Several passers-by were frightened and shouted loudly that he had just been hit. He cursed out loud. Damn it! Why did he have to get hit by a garbage truck just then? His phone's notification sound went off saying the caller was unavailable, please. He gasped for breath, feeling unfair. He couldn't die here, not yet. That damn person had betrayed him. Remembering the guy's face made him want to die. They paid us a few million just to kill him. What else could he hope for? It enraged him. He remembered Sai's face. That bitch had played him. His hatred surged to the extreme. He had to get revenge. Suddenly, the system's voice rang out, connecting. A blinding light appeared. The system's voice continued, authenticating user. Username Hirkan welcome. Tutorial completed. Survived before Minato, the master of the Warlord Labyrinth. He opened his eyes, shocked at what he saw. What was this tutorial? A voice said. Someone turned to him, sounding a bit impatient. Snap out of it and focus. You saw the warning, didn't you? We need to take down that thing together here. The beast charged at them when they weren't paying attention. The man continued. That monster is unbeatable alone. It looks like we need all three of us to win. Why don't you go attack it? Hirkan was stunned. Wait, Minato, you mean the boss man from the tutorial, but wasn't it removed from the game 5 years ago because it was too hard? The other person looked at him strangely. 5 years ago. What are you talking about? Warlord was just released 10 months ago, he muttered to himself, trying to make sure he hadn't misheard 10 months. So it's been 10 months, huh? They looked at him with confusion. What's wrong with this guy? The other player said, forget him. Let's focus when I give the signal. When they saw him heading forward, they asked, Hey, where are you going? Ignoring them, he charged forward. The two people were shocked. Hey, are you crazy? They shouted louder. Hey, you'll get yourself killed. But he didn't care about their warnings and kept moving forward. His sharp eyes flashed with a ruthless glint. With a swift sword strike, he cut down the monster. It let out a roar and collapsed to the ground. They were stunned. He took it down in one move. The two looked at each other, smiling knowingly. One of them called out to him. Hey, you! You have skills. I don't usually say this, but want to join our guild. A familiar image appeared in his mind as he looked at the person in front of him, who was now parting ways with him. His eyes showed fear more than the obsession and hatred that filled the corners of his eyes. He stumbled to his feet, saying, I've just made up my mind. His voice was filled with excitement about his decision. Hirkan sheathed his sword. Gritting his teeth, he said, If I ever trust anyone again, then I'm a dog. Hirkan the hero killer is back. Hirkan got up after the battle, realizing the surroundings weren't the street where he died. He wondered where he was. That store V over there. He understood, right. 5 years ago, I couldn't afford to buy equipment, so I played with a demo device here. That means I've really traveled back in time. If so, I can't waste a single second. Thinking this, he quickly removed the helmet from the device and rushed out of there. He thought, I have the knowledge of 5 years in the future and all the skills I've accumulated. If I use them correctly, then I can get revenge. He handed the waitress his card, saying, Give me a standard game package. The waitress was taken aback by his attitude, but still processed the payment. Processing your payment, sir. He felt elated now. Where do I start first? I'll grind some CA. The waitress's continuous calls brought him back to reality, sounding troubled. Sir? Sir? It says you don't have enough money? Upon hearing this, Hirkan was stunned. He sighed, cursing himself. He thought, I'm so stupid. If I had money, I wouldn't be playing here. He scratched his head, unsure what to do. What now? Do I have to earn money first? That'll take too long. A loud noise startled him. What's there to hesitate about? The sound from the screen continued. The strongest never fear challenges. Hesitation is a luxury on the battlefield. Become a warlord exclusive to top-tier warlords. Summon Queen Sai. He stared at the screen, lost in thought. Remembering Sai's face, he thought, looks like you're back to being a waste, huh? Then he turned away. I'm not picky. By now it had gotten dark. Someone brought a VR game device. The technician took his tools, saying Vega installation complete. Ready to use. I'll be off then. Hirkan replied. Okay. He stared at the paper in his hand, thinking the only way to get money. Quick cash loan special loan for warlord players. 247 consultation. Guaranteed lowest interest rate. Before this, the contract signer had met with him. 10,000 Of course, we're happy to lend you that amount. But before he could pick up the cast, a dagger stabbed straight down into the space between his fingers. He said with a hint of implication that if he couldn't pay them back, his life would be truly miserable. He swallowed hard. Putting aside his fear, he crumpled the paper. Thinking it wouldn't be a big deal, even if he had to crawl through hell. He put on the device, lay down on Vega, and waited for it to connect. Recalling their faces, he gritted his teeth, thinking that as long as he could crush their faces, it would be fine. He activated the login. The system's voice rang out again, verifying the user. Hirkan was confirmed. Welcome back to Warlord. Looking around, Hirkan felt a bit nostalgic. It had been a long time since he last came here. It was about time she appeared. Her name was Ariadne, wasn't it? The system spoke again, congratulating him on completing the new player tutorial. A person with blonde hair introduced herself. I'm Ariadne, here to guide you in choosing your profession. Looking at her, he nodded slightly. Yes, it was her. She cast a spell. Now it was time for the adventurer. You need to choose your basic profession. There are 3 options available. The skills you develop in your basic profession will determine your advanced class later. Warrior, a frontline fighter who uses melee weapons in fierce battles. If you like action-packed battles, this is the profession for you. Hirkan thought for a moment. Warrior. He had played this profession before, so he would level up quickly. But later on, it might be difficult to play alone. Thinking this, he told her to skip it. She continued Cleric, a support profession that heals and strengthens allies with divine power. But Hirkan shook his head, skipping it. Why would he waste time supporting others? Ariadne said, leaving only one option. She clenched her fist, smiling. Wish you a fun journey. A beam of light enveloped Hirkan. The system's voice rang out. You have chosen your basic profession, transferring you to your profession's tower. A man sitting high above spoke, greeting him. Welcome, young one thirsty for knowledge. He introduced himself. I am Golko, your guide on the path of magic. NPC, Mage. Golko, so tell me, what kind of magic do you want to learn? Hirkan interrupted him. Dark magic. The old man froze for a few seconds. The two just stared at each other. Golko tried to salvage the situation. You mean ancient magic, right? Sorry, my hearing isn't as good as it used to be. Hirkan shook his head. No, I mean dark magic, the old man worriedly exclaimed. Where did you hear that? Dark magic is very powerful. Yes, but it will consume the user's soul. Hirkan responded calmly. I know, I'm fully aware of that. That's why I want to learn it. It has to be dark magic, he thought to himself, because what he wanted was... The old man's voice trembled, unbelieving. But maybe. The old man tore off his skin, revealing a horrific form. Then let's begin. Seeing this, Hirkan was satisfied, thinking, this is exactly what I'm looking for. The old man said, it's been a long time since I've seen a young one choose this path. If you're really ready, then place your hand on the skill book. But be warned, this path is too treacherous for the faint of heart. Hirkan firmly placed his hand on the book. He raised an eyebrow, looking at the old man. Let's get started. Sorry to be blunt, but my heart is far from weak. The old man laughed loudly, a long, hearty laugh. Finally, an interesting person has appeared. A dark light enveloped him. He recalled a legendary video from his past life. A player, a Death Knight, alone took down a raid boss. Right now, that was the kind of power he needed. You have successfully become a Death Knight. The system's voice rang out again. Current title: Death Knight. You have obtained the skill Bone Splitting. He smiled. Bone Splitting. It seemed he had already felt the power. The system continued. A bone troop is being summoned. Looking in front of him, Hirkan thought happily. This time he would play to the fullest as a Death Knight. He said it's time to level up. The training dungeon, probably. Before Hirkan could finish speaking, the skull of the skeleton in front of him fell off and rolled away. He was speechless, 3 question marks appearing in his mind. Wait, what's going on? A transfer portal appeared. A figure gradually became clear through the portal. Hirkan rubbed his head, sighing. He heard the system's voice, you have entered the new player training dungeon. Recalling the awkward scene just now, he felt helpless, thinking that the bone troops he saw in his past life weren't as fragile as these. Unbelievable. Following his command, the data panel appeared before him. Bone Splitting Proficiency. Can summon a bone troop by imbuing it with mana. Perhaps it's because my proficiency is still low. I need to level up quickly. A growl came from behind, startling him. He felt lucky. Just then a notification popped up training monster Coal Wolf. He smiled. Coal Wolf isn't strong, but it's fast. Perfect for testing my combat skills. He summoned the Bone Troop. Then he cast a spell ordering the Bone Troop to kill them. The skull emitted a blue light flying towards the enemy. The system voice rang out again. Your skeletal troops have detected enemies and are entering attack mode. The skeletal troops roared furiously. The wolf-like creatures saw this and took a step back, seemingly a bit defensive. He ordered them to be killed. The eyes of the skeletal commander flashed. It rushed towards the wolf-like creatures. Hirkin thought to himself, "It seems they're doing better than I expected. At this rate, I'll be able to reach the highest level soon." But the skeletal commander was torn apart. Hirkin was stunned by what he saw. The head rolled on the ground from the air and landed right at Hirkan's feet. He could still see the resentment in its empty eye socket. He felt that things had gone too far. He shouted, "Wait! Something's not right! What's going on?" and activated the skill display. The information panel appeared Skeletal Troops Proficiency Level F. Can summon skeletal warriors. By channeling mana, you can create a skeletal troop. You can summon a skeletal commander. For more information, use the command system to improve combat abilities. You can set default behavior modes. Defensive mode. 2. Attack mode. Special action mode. He rubbed his hair in frustration. I seem to have forgotten to set its mode. Thank God I set it to defensive mode. The skeletal commander followed the order, but soon the same thing happened again. Hirkin kept reassuring himself. It's okay, and signaled to set the mode to special action. Contrary to his expectations, the system voice made him freeze. Your skeletal troops are enthusiastically dancing. Tears welled up in his eyes. Hirkin was stunned. "I'm done for," Golko said. "I told you, kid." He kept requesting the system, but all he got were notifications. Character deletion is not available. Newly created accounts cannot delete characters within 3 months. He felt helpless. He had killed all the monsters, but the skeletal commander was still dancing. Hirkan lamented. "I can't delete my character, I can't change my profession, and next month is when the loan payment starts. Maybe I should just get hit by a truck again. Why does nothing go my way? It always happens when I think I've finally accomplished something. This whole thing is useless," he said, looking at the skeletal remains and sighed. He looked at the skeletal remains and sighed. He said irritably, "Please stand still for a moment. You're making me more anxious. How did those death knights I saw in my previous life manage these things?" Suddenly, he noticed the summoning log using the command system to improve combat abilities. You can set default behavior modes, defensive mode, attack mode, special action mode. He read through it carefully. Improving combat abilities. When I killed those wolf-like creatures, this skeletal troop was watching and learning. The skeletal commander quickly grasped his techniques. He smiled in satisfaction. Hirkin called out to it, "Hey you!" He handed it a piece of wood and said with a hint of pride, "You're lucky to have me as your master. I was once called a genius, you know. I even trained my entire guild and made them top-notch gamers. In combat, just remember one thing. If you dodge, you'll die," he said, charging towards it. A loud crash was heard. It didn't dodge in time and was sent flying. He shouted, "Again, again." A series of rapid attacks followed, and despite its best efforts, the skeletal troop was knocked into the wall in front of him. He said sternly, "Don't just stand there when you're hit. First dodge, then counterattack when you see an opening. Got it?" The skeletal commander didn't give up, despite his harsh words. It stood up straight and charged towards the wolf-like creatures with its staff, showing great courage. When the monster attacked, the skeletal commander quickly dodged and struck back at its snout. The skeletal commander's movements were incredibly fast, leaving afterimages. The 2 wolf-like creatures were defeated. The skeletal commander panted, looking at Hirkan with shining eyes, as if waiting for praise. But contrary to its expectations, he reminded it coldly, "Don't get distracted in combat. I told you to stay focused." Still, his expression softened and he said, "But your last move wasn't bad." The system notifications kept appearing, making him very satisfied. Skeletal troops proficiency level increased. Skeletal troops proficiency level increased. Skeletal troops proficiency level increased. Player has leveled up. Hyrcan praised good job. At the newbie village, Figos was bustling with recruitment messages. Friendly Guild is recruiting new members who wants to join us for a spider forest raid. Hyrcan thought to himself as he walked, this skeletal troop is learning quickly. With just one more day of training, it will be able to conquer the dungeon on its own. Now I need to reach level 10 as soon as possible. And then, suddenly he was pulled back by a force accompanied by an unpleasant voice. You should apologize when you bump into someone, right? A person with a hairstyle featuring 2 wings looked down on him, and his companions also gathered around, saying, That's right, big brother. Hyrcan thought to himself, what kind of B-grade villain is this? He sighed softly, feeling uncertain. I don't have time for this. Maybe I should just kill them and be done with it. Seeing his attitude, the big guy got angry and didn't reason with him, clenching his fist at Hyrcan. How dare you sigh when I'm talking to you? Just as the fist was about to land on Hyrcan's face, a player with blonde hair blocked it in time. He calmly opened his glasses and spoke with a hint of teasing. Hey buddy, don't go around punching people like that. The other guy shouted, Who are you? Are you with him or what? He teased, dragging out his words without committing. But Hyrcan didn't hear their conversation because he was shocked by the person in front of him. Wait a minute, this guy is... that figure. The strange clothes left no doubt. It was Mathador Chev, the legendary warrior, and one of the top-ranked players in his previous life. What is he doing here? Hyrcan stuttered. Wait a minute! The big guy spat on the ground with disdain. He cracked his knuckles, his voice full of aggression. Old man, if you don't know what's going on, then scram. You little brat dared to hit me first. Got it? You've never heard of an eye for an eye, Blondie? He rubbed his head, smiling insincerely. Is that so? Suddenly, a powerful aura burst out from him. The aura terrified the big guy. Hyrcan also frowned at the aura. He continued speaking, his voice cold. You punched my palm, so I should punch you back. Right? Isn't that right? One of the big guy's underlings shouted, Boss, that guy is Mathador Chev, the leader of Red Bulls, one of the top 30 guilds, a ruthless killer. Mathador Chev. The big guy was shocked. How is that possible? Before he could finish, a voice interrupted him. So what's your answer? A hand on his shoulder made him jump. He was frozen in place, not knowing what to do. Then, without thinking much, he turned and ran. I'm sorry. I'm really sorry. Mathador Chev smiled, relieved that they could resolve the situation peacefully. The NPCs around them looked on in surprise. He turned to Hyrcan. Hey, you okay? Don't worry about those thugs. But Hyrcan avoided his touch. Hyrcan said, Next time, you don't need to help me. The figure walked away without letting Mathador Chev finish speaking. Mathador Chev scratched his head, embarrassed. He's really cold. Hyrcan ran quickly, thinking, Damn it! For a moment, he was completely overwhelmed by Mathador Chev's strength. Next time they met, he vowed he wouldn't be the same person anymore. A flame burned brightly, lighting up a dark area. In his hideout, Hyrcan pondered. The difference in strength between us is too clear. But Sai and Mathador Chev were evenly matched. That meant if he wanted revenge, he had to be as strong as they were. Suddenly, a monster charged at him. But before it could attack, his skeletal troop blocked it. A single blow knocked the monster to the ground. The system announced, Your skeletal troop has defeated a tiger boss, gaining experience. Hyrcan said, his voice tinged with disappointment. 3 days to reach level 10. It's taking longer than expected. The skeletal troop looked dejected. It was trying its best. The system announced, Congratulations, you have reached level 10. No more monsters will appear in the training dungeon. Your newbie status has been removed. Processing rewards. Hyrcan was delighted. A device appeared in his hand. A war watch, an essential gaming device, with features like stats, quests, maps, inventory, and messaging. Hyrcan reminisced. It's been a while since I last wore this. He activated the status display. The stats appeared status. Hyrcan level 10 class Death Knight. Title 1. Stats Strength 3, Vitality 3. Intelligence 5. Magic 5. Hyrcan was disappointed. My stats have been reset. The system prompted, Please distribute your stat points. The War Watch displayed remaining points. 50 Strength 3. Vitality 3. Intelligence 5. Magic 5. Hyrcan pondered, This is the first time I'm distributing stat points. I need to be careful. As a Death Knight, the obvious choices were to increase intelligence or magic, vitality, intelligence, magic. But he decided to put all points into strength. The system updated strength plus 50, total strength 50. Feeling the surge of power, Hirkan smiled in satisfaction. The skeletal troop looked at him in shock. It sobbed, covering its face. Hirkan was puzzled. What's wrong with you? Then, understanding, Hirkan hit the skeletal troop's head. I'm not giving up on being a Death Knight, got it? I'm doing this to teach you. Increasing intelligence or magic won't make much difference now. But by investing in strength, I can teach you all the techniques I mastered at my peak. The skeletal troop's eyes filled with hope as it looked at Hirkan. I'm really betting my life on you learning this. Anyway, just focus on training. Leave the rest to me. There are other ways to make up for those stats. At the Monster Hunting Guild branch in Figus Castle, the broker's voice echoed. New quests are in everyone. Several players were fiercely competing and arguing with each other. Back off, this is mine. Hirkan sighed. I've been waiting since yesterday. Hirkan thought that tasks like these were always dull every year, yet these guys were so enthusiastic. They must be new players. At that moment, he walked up to the counter and said, I want to take on a task. Can I see the list? Although slightly surprised, the old man said, Go ahead. But all that was left were tasks that nobody wanted, or were too difficult, or had terrible rewards. You can have it, can't you? He agreed with the old man. Most of these tasks were indeed dull. He smiled wryly. He knew better. This was his trump card. He picked up a card and exclaimed, Found it! It was the Bhima Mountain Cave mission, hunting monsters near Bhima Mountain with a reward of 10 gold. Hirkan thought this was a basic hunting task for low-level monsters. The old man said, Are you sure you want to take on this task? The reward is only 10 gold. Hirkan nodded, and the system announced that the task had been updated. Looking at the task details, Hirkan thought to himself that although it seemed like a small task on the surface, if he could complete it before level 15, he could obtain a very rare title, New Star. You might ask what's so great about a title. A title gives you additional stats. For example, a blind mage has Coal Wolf of Contempt, +1 magic, +2 intelligence. A New Star title gives 3% intelligence and 3% magic. The stats are increased by a percentage. In other words, this was the first step to becoming an overpowered character. Hirkan turned around and left the shop, saying, It's time to gear up. At Bhima Mountain, Hirkan looked around with a serious expression, assessing the situation. The clothes he wore looked very new and unique. Standing under a tree, Hirkan hung his head, having spent all his money on equipment for Skotent. Hirkan had bought durable leather armor, but didn't have enough money left. He thought he looked like an oddball in his hastily assembled gear. Very quickly, Hirkan realized he had no way back. He pulled himself together, thinking that complaining was useless. He had to hurry up and complete this task to buy some decent clothes. He rushed forward, completing the task faster than ever before. I'm here. In a bush deep in the forest, a large bloody hand reached out towards them. A wounded man shouted desperately, Help, someone, please help! But he was dragged back into the bush. It was a group of mysterious people dressed in black. Finally, at Bhima Mountain, the sunlight filtered through the trees. Multi burst into excited laughter. The great adventure begins! Let's see what kind of monsters are here. He smiled, showing his white teeth. I'm already level 11. I'm quite talented in this game. What if I become the top player in record time? Suddenly, a cry for help was heard. Help, my friend is injured. Someone, please help. Multi curiously ran towards the voice. What's going on? The wounded man cried and said, A monster suddenly appeared and attacked us. Looking at the unconscious young man covered in blood and hearing the man's pleas, Multi thought they had almost escaped but had run out of healing potions. Multi quickly checked his equipment and said, I have healing potions here. Wait a moment. The wounded man was emotional. Thank you so much. We really owe you a lot. While Multi was still busy finding healing potions, a large figure appeared behind him, raising a stick. Blood splattered everywhere. Multi, with blood on his head and convulsing, looked at them and said with a proud tone, Thank you again. The three of them looked down at Multi with a mocking attitude. We'll make sure to use your gear well. Multi's weak but angry voice said, "You deceived me, you bastards!" One of them hit Multi again, saying, "You're blaming us. You walked into the trap yourself." The system announced that player Multi had died, and his body gradually disappeared. The system reminded that player Multi had died, and his body was taken away by the system, leaving only his watch on his hand. The headset Multi was wearing was still there. The three of them chatted about what had just happened. "Killing these fools is too easy. Did you see his face just now, bastards?" They were the Grafpang family, known for their ruthless behavior. Their hands were filled with watches taken from their victims, showing their eagerness for their next kill. The skeletal troops faced a pack of fierce wolves. The wolves charged at the skeletal troops. Hirkan snapped his fingers, ordering his troops to switch to attack mode. The skeletal troops fought fiercely. In just a few minutes, the wolves were torn to pieces. The system announced that Hirkan's skeletal troops had killed an ancient wolf, gaining 375 experience. Hirkan was surprised that after buying a sword for his troops, they could now defeat a pack of ancient wolves. Hirkan smiled in satisfaction, thinking he had made the right decision in prioritizing his skeletal troops' equipment. Hirkan was moved to tears, thinking that a true gamer prioritizes stats over appearance. The Bone troops saw Hirkan tearful, and were also surprisingly moved by their pitiful master. He immediately felt uncomfortable when he saw the Bone troops' emotional expression as they covered their face. "Why are you looking at me like that?" Hirkan turned around and hurriedly left. "Whatever, let's just go if we're done here. We need to level up quickly so I can get out of this miserable outfit." The Bone troop held the sword and hurriedly followed after Hirkan. Suddenly a certain light appeared in the sky and was approaching. Something struck the Bone troop's head, causing it to feel sudden pain. Hirkan was shocked. An arrow stepping out from the forest. "I apologize." The three people from before pretended to feel guilty. "I saw you from afar and thought you were a monster." "He seemed pitiful, so I'm very sorry." Hirkan responded calmly. "No, it's fine." Wrists covered in blood, weapons with many bloodstains. Hirkan observed everything. The group of people. He forced a smile to deal with them. "It's okay, but if you have mana potions, I'd be very grateful." The Bone troop beside him was unhappy and snapped the arrow. He replied, "Oh no, we don't have any potions either. Let us help you level up, okay? Because your mana will automatically recover after leveling up." Hirkan went along with their plan. Really, that makes sense. He still pretended to be friendly. "Anyway, it's our fault, so we're very willing." Seeing the monsters approaching, he became even more excited. "Right on time, the monsters are here." The three of them turned their backs to him. "We'll weaken it, and you can deliver the final blow." Hirkan agreed. The man charged forward while reminding his companions. "Everyone knows the plan, right?" "Of course." He repeated the plan one more time. "First, we'll lure the monsters with all our might. One of us will stand out and attack the monsters. After we've lured the monsters, and finally we'll let it slip past that guy, the fierce monster will excitedly run towards Hirkan." They were confident that the poor guy would panic. "Hirkan won't fight back against the next monster, and that's when we'll—" All three smiled sinisterly, expecting that to happen. But their expressions suddenly changed to surprise. Hirkan over here had already defeated the monster without much effort. Amazing, next time, be a bit faster. He and the Bone troop were full of energy. "Good, let's keep going. What's with his summoning being so strong?" "The plan has failed. Maybe his level is higher than we thought." "So," the man quietly calculated while planning his next move. "We'll push a horde of monsters towards him. Quickly move to his back, and while he's distracted, he smiled sinisterly, raising his weapon. We'll take down the summoner." But failed to strike Hirkan's head. He was shocked when he dodged it. Hirkan turned around coldly and swiftly swung his sword at the man. Seeing their companion fall to Hirkan, both were shocked. "What the?" He ordered the Bone troop, silently gesturing. The Bone troop turned around. Both charged forward with their swords. They were frightened, unable to speak. "Wait, let's talk." But before they could explain, the first blow began. At the same time, the other man also received a fatal blow. They were slashed by Hirkan and the Bone troop, the force too strong, sending both flying. They lay motionless on the ground. Hirkan said triumphantly, "I know scum like you too well." He approached them step by step, the kind that gains others' trust just to stab them in the back and steal their belongings. Standing over the weak man lying on the ground. If it were me in the past, I would have been fooled. The man screamed in fear. "Wait, take my belongings, I apologize, please don't." But Hirkan remained unmoved. "Sorry." He raised his sword. "I no longer believe in humanity." The man had completely stopped breathing. The system announced, "Player Rap has died." 8 unclaimed rings fell out. Hirkan was slightly surprised. These guys were really scum, but his eyes turned greedy. "I should take it and use it well. First, let's find some decent clothes." The Bone Troop was also torturing the remaining man. The Bone Troop's face was covered in blood. It looked at them with greedy eyes. Hirkan, unaware, said, "Hey Bone Troop, what do you need me to get for you?" Transmitting his will and life force to the Bone Troop. The Bone Troop's eyes gradually regained life. Full of excitement, it raised the sword. Hirkan handed it. Delighted, it hummed. "The outfit was just right. You like it, huh?" He carefully explained to the Bone Troop. "As my subordinate, your appearance isn't important." Hirkan started to dance. "What's important is your loyalty." Smiling mischievously, he looked at the Bone Troop. "Just follow me, and you'll have a glorious future. Now let's see what we can get from the loot." Hirkan explained that by selling another player's ring, a random item from their inventory would drop, allowing him to choose the item he wanted. Obtained 10 black goblin soldiers rare. Mana 5 intelligence. 5. Next, a sword with the scent of an ancient tree. Rare mana 10. Finally, a skill book. Curse of the Demon, Hirkan exclaimed excitedly. "And more money now is like hitting the jackpot." Boasting about the items he had crafted. "Thanks to this method of making money, I was able to make this." The mask was completed faster than expected. He immediately said anxiously that he would record his gaming process from now on and build a good reputation for an important purpose. Suddenly, a voice rang out in his head telling him that building a good reputation was important. It made Hirkan shocked. He was very excited and told the person that everyone in the guild wore a mask and that it would help them become famous. The person agreed to Hirkan's idea and said, "Let's name our guild Haha Mask." Hirkan was very moved when he looked at the person. Hirkan thought to himself that he even considered having a new identity while staring at the mask in his hand. However, he continued to finish making the mask. The mask gradually changed into a more terrifying shape. Hirkan thought to himself that he didn't want others to steal from him anymore, and that he would use this. He gritted his teeth, determined to prove that he was right. He put on the newly made mask and said, "Let's go, Bone Troops." They stepped out of the forest and stood before the Divine Gate. As they walked through the system, it notified them, "You have entered the Bhima Mountain Dungeon." Hirkan entered, looked around, and observed, thinking that werewolves would appear in the dungeon. He smiled confidently, thinking that this wasn't an easy dungeon, but now that he had good equipment, it would be easier. He was aiming for a 10-minute run. He was excited and quickly ran forward, saying, "Let's go." A few hours passed. Hirkan's face was filled with panic, and he exclaimed, "Whoa!" He shouted helplessly, "Why are there no monsters?" He held his head in frustration and cursed, "Damn it, there should be a notification if someone has already cleared this dungeon. Is there something wrong?" Bone Troops was continuously scratching something. "What are you doing?" Hirkan looked at Bone Troops in shock and said, "Wait a minute." He approached what Bone Troops had found and said, "Let's see." Inside, there was a different eerie space filled with various evil energies. The system notified them. "You have discovered an instant dungeon. Do you want to enter?" Hirkan said helplessly. "No wonder there were no monsters," he added. About this mission, instant dungeons are random dungeons that appear in other dungeons. When they appear, normal dungeons will not function until this one is cleared. Regarding the mission's difficulty, they were harder than normal dungeons, but the rewards were better. One thing to note was that Hirkan became focused, saying, "You either clear this dungeon or die in it." Hirkan turned around, preparing to leave, and said, "Honestly, I think we should give up. I won't be able to continue playing for 2 days. If I die here, it will be better for me to quit and do another mission." When he turned to look at the mission, the system notified him, "You have entered the stage." He led Bone Troops inside, saying, "I just need to clear it." The light inside suddenly made Hirkan cover his eyes. Before him was a classic arena with only 2 people inside. He was a bit cautious, thinking, is this an arena? It feels a bit scary. I wonder what will appear. Upon hearing a loud noise from inside the arena, Hirkan felt fearful. A large, ferocious werewolf stepped out hungry and menacing. It bared its sharp teeth towards the 2, and the werewolf's level was unknown. Hirkan was shocked, thinking, why am I here? The werewolf didn't hesitate and attacked Hirkan, who dodged nimbly. Due to the werewolf's immense strength, Hirkan couldn't stand firm. He was thrown far away. Bone Troop stood there shocked, and then turned to Hirkan. It held its sword seriously ready to charge forward. Hirkan smiled in satisfaction. Hirkan slowly got up, noticing that the wall was deeply indented, and thought, why am I so lucky today? The fallen monsters are part of the main mission. He encouraged Bone Troops, saying, if we don't kill it, Bone Troops. His eyes became greedy and he said, there's no dinner tonight. Hirkan finished speaking and charged towards the werewolf with his sword. Bone Troops immediately lowered its sword. Both of them worked in harmony. Hirkan jumped up and Bone Troops provided him with a sword. Hirkan jumped high and even the werewolf had to look up. The werewolf howled, creating a curse. Hirkan cast a spell on the sword. The sword was covered in evil energy, and he pointed it at the werewolf, invoking a devil's curse. The werewolf was shocked to discover this. Hirkan held the sword firmly and swung it horizontally at the werewolf. The werewolf cried out in pain, and the devil's curse was activated, reducing the target's stats by 10. Hirkan was a bit surprised, thinking that the devil's curse wasn't very effective the first time he used it. The werewolf became enraged due to the pain, and its eyes became even more aggressive. It charged at Hirkan furiously. The system warned that the fallen werewolf had become enraged, and all negative status effects were nullified. Hirkan sheathed his sword and thought that it wouldn't be an instant dungeon if it was that easy. Hirkan was excited, thinking that he had planned to save this for later, but now he had to try it. He pulled out a clock he had obtained and activated it. Light emitted from the clock surrounded Hirkan's body, and he began to transform. Terrifying power enveloped him completely. A sphere of light enveloped Hirkan. The evil energy gradually dissipated, and Hirkan stepped forward. New equipment was set up on Hirkan, and he said, let's do this. Hirkan activated a mode. Light beams began to appear, and the game system announced one of the unique characteristics of the God of War has been activated. After that, the watch on his hand also emitted light when a player used the pop-up feature. A large source of light appeared, and a human figure appeared in it. They were temporarily empowered from the world of the God of War, representing a form of enhancement. It could be Mathadorshev or Sai. This form is extremely diverse. He and his attire began to transform from one player to another, always with different transformations. The light emitted grew larger, accompanied by a loud explosion. He had transformed compared to before, but overall, he had increased in power. That was why many people called it the ultimate fighting mode. Hirkan had completed his transformation. Come here! The angry werewolf growled and charged at him. It swung its right arm full of sharp claws at him. He dodged to the left. It attacked from the left. He dodged to the right. It furiously attacked low, but missed him. It clapped its hands together, intending to crush him, but he avoided it. He held his sword and knelt on the ground. Its hand slammed into the rock, shattering it. He leaped up to avoid its attack and landed on the ground. He wondered, as expected, that as a boss-level monster, its speed and strength were both very powerful. What if it landed on all fours? Not to mention 3 legs, it could still be fatal. The monster charged at him again. Hirkan sneered and raised his sword to slash at it. Blood splattered everywhere. It roared in pain as its chest was injured. He smiled. That's why this is more fun. Right. You're looking at me, aren't you? He continued to dodge its attacks and rubbed his head with his hand. Yes, this is the stage where we are completely immersed in the battle. How rare is this feeling of fighting? He flew up into the air, looked at the monster, and smiled. His eyes gleamed with light. You're not forgetting anything, are you? A skeleton in warrior attire appeared, surprising the monster. Before it could recover, it was attacked by the skeleton, but managed to dodge. He shouted, "Bone Troops do as we practiced." The skeleton turned to look at the werewolf. To its horror, Hirkan and the Bone Troop swung their swords and rushed past, attacking it from both sides. They slashed it multiple times. It howled in pain as its body was cut into many pieces. The system announced, "You have hunted a werewolf." He returned to his normal state, smiled, and said, "A significant increase in experience." Not bad. A flash of light appeared, indicating a new mission. A new mission appeared with an image of 2 mountain wolves of Bhima, subduing the surrounding monsters. The reward was 10 gold. The system continued to announce the Bone Warrior, also known as the Bone Troops, has defeated a very powerful monster. The fragments of the Bone Troops' skills have also been upgraded to level E. Notifications about the loot from the previous mission appeared continuously. You have earned 265 gold. You have received the werewolf skull. You have received the werewolf's lair. He smiled, resting his hands on his hips, while the Bone Troops raised their hands and shook them. These temporary loot are great. The list of loot continued. You have received the Collar of the Fallen Hunter. Chronicle unique item. Increases stats related to level. All stats plus 18. Non-transferable. Bound item. Requires Fallen Hunter title to equip. He said Chronicle unique item, although non-transferable, is a higher tier unique item. Suddenly he paused, thinking, "Wait, Fallen Hunter. Could it be?" New notifications appeared, confusing him. 3 new titles had been updated. He believed a new recruit with potential intelligent triple magic. New recruit with potential. That's what I was going to take. He sighed. 2 challengers. Hero Endurance Triple. So there are hero titles here too. I did clear the instant dungeon alone, so this makes sense. He stroked his chin. 3 Fallen Hunters. He stared at Fallen Hunter, the title being the first chapter of the main quest Fallen Count. Hirkan recalled the main quest, which involved the Fallen Count. It was the main storyline that formed the foundation of the game. He didn't remember the exact reward, but he knew it was very valuable because the reward was extraordinary. All players wanted to participate in this quest somehow. He searched his memory from his past life, which couldn't even reach Chapter 4. He wondered, now I've unlocked this. It's not just luck anymore. He was overjoyed. I've hit the jackpot and stood up. At dawn the next day, the game news updated with new information. The Hydra Guild had officially started the final chapter of the Fallen Count storyline. Their goal was to complete it within 3 months. Hirkan sat by his computer holding a cup of water with his left hand and moving the mouse with his right, following the news. Tears welled up in his eyes. What bad luck. I'm so unlucky. He hit his head on this table. Someone has already reached the final chapter of the Fallen Count. If I jump in now, I won't get anything. Damn it, what a waste. He lay on the table, resting his head on his arm, tears welling up in his eyes. Should I give up on this quest and aim for the next one? He suddenly had an epiphany. Wait, this might be an opportunity for me. He raised his head and looked at the screen. Now the whole world was focused on the Fallen Count with utmost enthusiasm. It was the first main quest of the game, and it is almost done. Eyes shining with sweat dripping. Hands incessantly clicking the mouse. What if a video related to the Fallen Count is broadcasted now on the screen is a live video of the previous mission he did? He is still sitting at the computer, imagining himself dressed luxuriously, wearing a lot of gold jewelry like rings and bracelets, holding a gun, shooting out paper, money, wearing expensive sunglasses, laughing broadly. The number of views will be huge. He starts typing away on the keyboard. It's really good because he has recorded the gameplay process. He will have to edit it and upload it to YouTube as soon as possible. Editing the video is the most important thing. It has to be really good. He can't let someone else do it. He sneers. Then he guesses that he needs that person. She recalled that her house had a kitchen full of instant noodle cups stacked up, and that she was known as a video editing genius in her past life. The phone has a text message. A hand picks it up. A girl with pink hair down to her back. Thick glasses, wearing headphones, left hand picking up noodles and putting them in her mouth. Right hand holding the phone to read the text message. Romani. Film production. She reads the just-sent text message requesting to edit a video of clearing Hirkan Dungeon level 15. While reading, she wonders a person at level 15 can create a video that clears the dungeon. In what way it must be just some new rich people wanting to show off on social media. Suddenly she is startled and looks carefully again. She stands up from the chair. Her voice trembles. I've found him. Her eyes are wide open and shining brightly. My poet Romani, a freelance video editor. Night falls. The high-rise buildings are lit up one by one, illuminating the entire city. In a room with a view of the city, a well-dressed girl is standing holding a tablet reading the news and then calling her assistant. A young man wearing glasses hurries over. She says, "You called me." She hands him the tablet with the news. It's quite interesting. A level 15 person can fight alone against the fallen count. He tensely holds the device. Is that the video? He adjusts his glasses, sneers, "My team has checked it. But the level of the fallen count is low, so we don't need to pay attention to it." "I like it," she says with a smile. "I want that person." She leans on her hand, resting her chin. "Bring that person to me." She is Chae Seol-yeon, the #1 person in the dungeon business world. She also has another name known as the Thunder Queen in the Warlord.